welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. First of all, apologies that we're slightly late with it, but we think it's going to be worth it. This week we're talking about what PlayStation 4 means for GTA 5, or at least the GTA series, I guess. We're going to be covering all sorts of things. GTA 5 in 1080p, draw distance, cloud gaming, motion control, Vita link-up, touchpad, multiplayer, movie sharing, the whole shebang. Dan's here with me, as always, and we're going to crack on now. So first of all, Dan, we're going to talk about GTA 5 in 1080p, and all I can say is, wow, looking at this footage. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, this footage obviously isn't... We haven't broken into Rockstar's office and stolen footage of a game that may or may not exist. What this is footage from the PC modding community, where they've been hard at work for years on creating like the ultimate graphical version of GTA 4. Different varieties, these are different sets of footage, so some is older, some is newer. That's chosen because it's on-foot gameplay, which again looks considerably better than we remember. Look at this as well. This is a modded version of GTA San Andreas. So it's a weird version of like impressively high res and ludicrously low res. But it's a fun bit of footage. Now, that footage looked sort of insane, but when we see what PlayStation 4 is capable of, as we can see now in this footage of Killzone Shadowfall, it promises an incredible amount. And this would be running at easily as a resolution of 1080p. You look at the quality of the draw distances there, and again, whether it's like an illusion or not, we don't know. But we'll talk about that more at length in a minute. But certainly, this looks sensational. Now, going back in history, GTA 4 absolutely, definitely didn't run at 1080p.
No.
And we can see it from this footage here, and it doesn't look bad, but it's
not quite up to the standard of the footage we saw at the start.
No, not at all. And like at the time GTA 4 came out on PS3, some analysis was done, and it was being like natively rendered at 1152 times 640p. And in fact, the frame rate would often dip from somewhere between 23 frames a second for a explosive mission like Rig to Blow, and up to like 29 frames a second. So for us to talk about 1080p at 60 frames for potentially a PlayStation 4 or next gen title, that's actually quite a big leap from where we were. That is quite a big thing.
And of course, I guess that extra visual fidelity would allow them to be incredibly ambitious. Not that they're not being ambitious with GTA 5, of course, but that kind of level of ambition is going on to the next stage. It would just look mint.
And in fact, there's a history of Rockstar trying to exploit the resolution of the format they're on, because you can see these movies, or the movies that were just on that were in GTA 4. The PlayStation 3 version of those movies, thanks to Blu-ray, was actually higher resolution than the Xbox version. And it was possible to view them from multiple camera angles just purely because of Blu-ray. So again, I think Rockstar do like to exploit the hardware they're using. We're obviously speculating the games are coming to PlayStation 4, but it's a theme that we've long talked about. And if they do, I'd imagine they're going to optimise them.
Well, we know that Rockstar are definitely committed to PlayStation 4. When they unveiled the PlayStation 4 in New York, they had a slide with all the developers and publishers' names and brands and logos on there, and we saw Rockstar on there. So
yeah. So we're definitely at some stage going to get a GTA game on PS4. I think it's almost certainly going to be GTA 5 at some stage. Looking back, you can see animation, a little bit stilted. Character models. And again, we always do this. We look back and think, how do we tolerate such inhuman conditions?
But GTA 5 is going to be a great looking game, but.
Yeah, and you can see here from the evolution of the mods, of the PC modding scene. I'm not going to pretend to even be expert on this, and in fact, maybe I'd like to get someone who actually understands this better on the show to break it down for us. But this is like a mod from 2012 where you really notice the leap in resolution as you go look at the cars. I think that the characters and the people kind of destroy the next gen illusion. But yeah, the cars look fantastic, and the lighting effects are sensational, and this is certainly going to be a huge theme of next gen. Quite recently I went to see a version of Hideo Kojima's Fox engine running, and one key feature of that is lighting, filtering effects, the ability to apply all these little panache things to relatively low polygon models and make them look sensational.
So I mean, for people who perhaps aren't 100% familiar, what does that extra lighting and stuff? What does it give? Is it that it brings it kind of alive? Like the character's much more alive. I mean, I guess you're seeing with this car now, you can see it reflecting. So I guess it takes on a sort of
look at this,
especially
footage.
here.
Yeah, now you can see in this footage, and it looks almost like Hollywood post-processed sensational. I mean, what it really is, it's all those factors that your brain subliminally reject as not being real. They're suddenly present in the scene.
Yeah,
and that is things like the trees casting off the back pane of the window, the way the sunlight reflects.
This looks incredible. I've never actually seen. I haven't seen. I mean, you talked about it where we talked about it off camera, but wow.
Yeah, and there's an argument that PlayStation 4 won't be able to handle some of these visuals because they're so good. Because this is kind of exhibition PC footage on super high-end PCs with elaborate mods, and it's not in a sort of capacity you could actually run or play it at, but it gives you a hint. I mean, look at this. This is amazing. This just gives you a hint of like the kind of quality we could be getting at.
Yeah, and we saw with the Killzone video as well that those visuals they're not so, these kind of visuals, they're not so far away, and you can imagine that like 2 to 3 to 4 years into the PS4's life, people might be getting this kind of level of fidelity from the machine, because look at what they're getting out of the Xbox and PS3 at the moment.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's only going to improve. And I just think people talk about visuals, visuals aren't important, blah, blah, blah. I remember talking to BioShock's Ken Levine semi-recently, and I said, what's the one thing you think is holding games back from mainstream acceptance? And he said, well, basically, it's graphics, isn't it? He said, like, my own parents wouldn't really take my game seriously until BioShock. And they looked at them and went, that looks like a proper thing. So, we can pretend it's something else, but visuals really do matter. And these visuals, they're quite good. They're amazingly good.
So, Dan, let's talk draw distances and RAM. Go for it.
Yeah, well, the big thing with PlayStation 4, and this was kind of the shock announcement of the PlayStation meeting, is that they're going to have 8 gigs of what's called GDDR RAM in the machine, which is like, not only is 8 gigs a really whopping amount of RAM, it's kind of like a sort of turbo RAM that really moves fast. So this is really high-end stuff. And we'll talk about it later, how that compares with the cutting-edge PC hardware. But we can see there already GTA 5 is gunning for quite ambitious draw distances. And if we see what PlayStation 4 is capable of, in this footage of Killzone again, the draw distances they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Now, it could be, as we talked about, an illusion, like an illusion of a background, and you can't actually fly there or go there. Either way, it looks fantastic. And it's quite possible, looking at the achievements of games like Far Cry 3, that you can render this stuff and make it quite possible to go there. Now, traditionally, draw distance, which is basically how far you can see into the horizon and how much the game renders the background, it's been a bit of a problem for GTA. GTA 4 on PS3 wasn't bad, largely because they masked it with giant skyscrapers.
Yeah.
But certainly in San Andreas, you'd be watching the scenery block in front of you. And certainly in earlier games. Now, this all ties back to what Mark Cerny, who's been designing PlayStation 4, says, and his big announcement was it's got 8 gig of unified memory. Now, unified memory may not mean much to you, does it?
No. Explain what unified memory means, Dan.
The problem with PlayStation 3 was that it had 512 meg of split memory, and this in fact is partially blamed for the reason that Skyrim looks so laggy on PlayStation 3. This is quite an infamous incident of it being rim lag, it was called. Now that was partly because of this 512 memory. It was actually partitioned, so 256 was set up for the video, 256 for sort of systems, where on Xbox it had 512, the same volume of RAM. Is this making any sense, Tim?
It is, I'm listening,
512 of unified RAM, but you could use it how you wanted.
Yeah, you can divide it up kind of how you want it.
So as a result, it might not be the case because Bethesda have never actually gone totally public on it, but it might be one of the reasons that Skyrim had struggled on PS3. Now, with PlayStation 4, we're talking about not only this sort of special brand of turbo RAM, we're talking about 16 times the amount of storage being held in memory at any one time. That's an incredible leap.
Yeah. Now,
by and large, generational leaps have been with 6 to 8 times the size of RAM. So it goes 16 times. I mean, that really is saying that Sony are building a console for the future.
How have they managed to get that much more out of it. I mean, because they're using we talked kind of about this NVIDIA kind of graphics card they use. But
the point is,
explain.
the point is that NVIDIA, their top end $1,000 graphics card, the GeForce Titan, only offers, like inverted commas, 6 gig of onboard GDDR memory.
Yeah.
So for Sony to include 8 gig is incredible.
Yeah, it's another. It's not just really a generational leap, is it? It's like a generation and a half almost.
Yeah, it's a big leap. And again, for what is essentially a machine built out of relatively cutting edge PC tech, the RAM is the thing that developers push for. It's the thing that will hopefully allow like much more textures, much more information, system stuff to be held in the background. What it really means for us is that when we play, hopefully in time GTA 5, we'll have to suffer a lot less, leave house, walk onto the street, wait for loading, go to this other mission, wait for loading, look at the background, textures popping in. And right now we see what gaming is. It's this.
Yeah.
It's realms of bars and updates and patches and waiting and slogging and
It's especially prescient for a game like GTA 5 as well, which is based on a version of Los Angeles. Los Angeles being predominantly low rise.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, we talked about before, Liberty City at least was able to mask its relatively small draw distances with skyscrapers, whereas that's not really generally possible.
It's not a luxury they're afforded anymore. And as you see from screenshots like the Griffiths Observatory screenshot, there's a lot of background there, and they're really going to benefit from what PS4 can give them. Also, we say even if they are streaming off the Blu-ray disc in a sort of hidden way, like a game like Dragon's Dogma does. There's a 6 times speed Blu-ray drive in PS4 compared to the 2 times drive on PS3. So, all being well, we've got the great environment to create really rich environments.
Hey, man! Let's go bowling. Hello? Nico.
So Dan, let's talk about the share button on the PS4 and how you think it might impact upon the GTA series.
Well, we talked previously in the show about how it could be that Rockstar integrate a form of video editing or a kind of almost like a YouTube within the game. Now, PlayStation 4, as we can see here, has got an explicit share button, which at any time you can tap that button and it's supposed to store up to 15 minutes of gameplay. Now that could be game footage, could be screenshots, and you're supposed to be able to really easily edit that stuff.
We should point out that this is the PC editor we're seeing, not the PlayStation 4.
Now outside of PlayStation 4, there is a precedent for Rockstar doing this, as we can see right now.
Yeah.
On PC, when the enhanced PC version of GTA 4 was brought out, there was this video editor, which was the big inclusion. Again, it was pretty fiddly and a bit techy, but you could create amazing movies just by taking your gameplay of GTA, and then people, like they do, the community took it and ran with it and made loads of amazing physics exploiting movies with amazing crashes, real sort of impressive camera work and cutting and stuff, and again made stupid movies, and that's great. And I think if you can apply that to GTA 5, and like we talked about, this idea of doing crazy things in the world, which might be rampages with rocket launchers and blowing as much stuff as possible. It might be lining up 6 petrol-fueled tracks, trunks. What am I talking about? Trunk tracks, because that's what they'll be called. And blowing them up and creating domino effects of explosions. You could have all this fun, cool stuff, and if you can share it, and then have almost whether it's directly to YouTube or a fake GTA version of YouTube, you could then create views as almost a form of internal respect or XP.
I mean, you talked about this area in a previous GTA 5 o'clock, and you talked about the share button and how that might impact upon this kind of perhaps the sort of multiplayer aspect of GTA. I mean, do you still sort of see that happening?
Well, I think on PS3, I think my suspicion is that it was something they might be planning. It's just a gut suspicion. I'm not saying they definitely are. It's not any codified thing. But with PlayStation 4, there's almost no excuse for it, because it's hard. It's built into the hardware.
Yeah.
PlayStation 4 is built that way. Now, if you think Sony are thinking that way, Rockstar are fairly progressive. It's likely they were thinking that way before Sony had formalised it.
Yeah.
We don't know. So, the thing for me will be like essentially having lots of fun. And by lots of fun I mean going to a counter and shooting a man's face off with jam in the first person.
I mean, I guess it's going to be a more the PS4 is going to be a more, well, the idea seems to be that it's going to be a more social experience perhaps than, I mean, Sony I guess privately probably admit that in terms of the online aspect of their offering on PS3 perhaps it never quite grasped it like Xbox did.
That was funny, wasn't it?
Like Xbox did. So
Yes.
so maybe this is going to be such a much bigger focus for PlayStation this time round.
Yeah, they've seen what's pretty clear is that, you know, the world's people, particularly like Call of Duty players, Skyrim players, you play a game, you capture your footage, you share it online.
Yeah.
A game like, again, Skate formalised this system with the Skate Reel, where you could play, and it was quite a dynamic universe similar to GTA. You could save 30 seconds of footage, pop it up online, and then the cool thing was people could rate it, so you could easily go online and just see the 10 coolest trick videos that week, that month, of all time.
Yeah.
It works like YouTube, and I think GTA, given the kind of dynamic open world it is, and what we're talking about, it just seems a shoe-in for them to do it.
So let's talk about the touchpad, Dan. How you think it might kind of get represented in game in the GTA series, perhaps even in GTA 5 when it comes out on next gen.
Yeah, I think the PS4 obviously features an explicit touchpad. It's not dissimilar to what we're getting already on PS Vita. Perhaps the obvious use is that we know that GTA 5 features a map that's very similar to Google Earth.
Yeah.
Now this isn't GTA 5's map we're seeing here. This actually is Google Earth.
Yeah.
But, you know, what it would allow you to do, the pad, on a very simple level, is just do classic pinch and zoom. There's Los Angeles, drop in, where's Michael, where's Franklin, drop in, drop out. It's just a nice intuitive gesture, you know, and again, it could easily be done with an analog stick, but I just think it's another thing Rockstar could include that exploits what PlayStation 4 could offer.
Yeah, and how, I mean, I guess you know, from a practical point of view, that they'd have to, it makes sense for it to be on an options menu where you would normally find a map, the map option to be on, because then you're sort of pausing, then you're using the touchpad with whichever hand you want to use, and it's not interfering with your game. But I mean, how does that, like, I think you're going to go on and talk about how it might use, the touchpad might get used in other areas of the game. How do you see this touchpad kind of working when you're like full into you're shooting and you're kind of, you're ducking behind cover?
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it, there are useful ways to use it, and there's ways to use it purely because you can.
I mean, this makes sense. The map stuff makes sense because you would have paused the game, you're going in, you're having a look around, and no one's trying to shoot you in the head.
You're swiping along the map, you're pinching in. Obvious uses are things like sniper rifles and precision zooms, and using your finger to go easy, and just get things right like that. That could work. Another thing could be, because we know there's mobile phones in GTA 5. And mobile phones are almost all touchscreen. It's just a simple way to replicate what your actual mobile phone does. So if you had like a series of apps on screen, you could just use the touchpad on the pad to move through them like you would in real life.
Yeah, here we're seeing a succession of people getting killed by a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Made even more realistic on the touchpad.
Yeah, and now I'm not going to even pretend that this somehow will transform the experience. So you go, this is truly the 100% game of all time because you can zoom in with a sniper rifle using your fingers. But it's just another neat use, and I think there's lots of little ways they could use it. And I think largely to mimic like functions that we expect to do touchscreen 4 stuff in real life. And, we'll talk later about how PS Vita links up with GTA 5. And that should help. And we can see here he's got his iFruit phone. Yeah. So,
I mean, are we expecting there to be, he's got iFruit phones. I guess this is a bit of a punt, but do we expect there to be, I assume there's going to be tablets as well, maybe in the game that we might be able to...
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if they're having a little swipe at Apple, then, not swipe, but if swipe. Brilliant. Just what I meant. I meant that, obviously. But if they're having a little, a bit of fun at Apple's expense, I mean, it would make sense to them. The only reason I ask is because that would be another possible reason to use your kind of touchpad.
Absolutely. And I don't know. There's all sorts of ludicrous applications related to mini games. You could use it for swings in the golf mini games. Stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
That might be all right.
Tennis.
There's tennis. I mean, maybe that's good. I mean, but the truth is, like a lot of Apple gaming, is you use the touchpad, and it's good for some stuff. A lot of stuff you think, "Where's my controller? This is driving me insane."
I guess it's how much precision they're asking you to have in game. Because the touchpad is never very precise on. Well, the touch technology is never that precise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Dan, let's talk about motion control. We've talked about touchpads. How will the PlayStation Pad's other great piece of functionality...
Yeah, well, as we all know, 6-axis clearly changed the world.
Yep.
Well, maybe it didn't. And that was pretty clear. It was kind of Sony's chasing what we did well.
Yeah.
And to be fair, though, some early games, including GTA 4, embraced 6-axis. And there was a tutorial section that we can see here that took part at the airport, where it sort of taught you how to, ride a bike using motion control, which I suppose you could say is a bit like real life, or in other ways, absolutely nothing like real life.
Did you use the 6-axis in game, Dan, when you played GTA 4? Or
yes, he lies massively. No, I mean not at all. I didn't.
It wouldn't really occur. Even if it was an option, it wouldn't really... I played it on Xbox, so it's totally irrelevant, but it wouldn't even occur to me to use 6-axis because it would immediately make me probably lose my rag, maybe.
Yeah, and it's basically harder, and it's hard enough doing that on an empty, piece of tarmac, but when you're in the middle of the city trying not to get a wanted rating and weave in between traffic, like the micro precision of motion control is pretty fiddly. But I think, again, it's something that Rockstar have exploited in the past. If PlayStation 4 offers it, I'd have thought Rockstar would embrace it again. And I think looking further, obviously motion control is one part of what PS4 pads offers, and there's going to be like an enhanced, all PlayStation 4s come with the new dual eye camera, which has got much improved stereoscopic depth perception. Now, there's other ways that could link up with the light bar that's on the PS4 pad. And the light bar, Michael Denny, one of the Sony bosses, talked about this in a sort of post-PlayStation meeting interview. And the light bar for Killzone will be used to do things like indicate your health status. So, the bar might flash red when you're in trouble. Now, the same thing could be applied to GTA, and depending on your wanted level with the number of stars.
Yes.
Or some sort of alert status. It could do stuff like that. It could be done for energy. It could be done for Mad Simon Says minigames. It could be done for pure fun. There's all sorts of ways you could use a light bar, I think.
Whoever's controlling this on 6-axis, I wouldn't want to be in that helicopter, that's for sure.
Well, it shows it as it actually is.
Yeah.
Rock solid.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's something they could exploit. I'm not saying it's necessarily the wisest thing they'd ever actually be able to do. Another part of the pad that we haven't really talked about yet is the pad has got a little built-in mono speaker.
Yeah.
Now, the speaker obviously would allow you to hear stuff. Good grief, what level of analysis that is.
No,
but what I mean is, say you were driving in the car and the TV is dealing with the main radio.
Yeah.
The speaker could be used to just do voice. So say someone rings you up in the car, it could almost be your voice speaker.
Right, okay.
So you could do quite cool things like that. Or you could even use it, when you see spy films and the main guy will have an earpiece and he'd be receiving orders.
Yeah.
Now, what if it was to replicate that, where you had an earpiece for a sniping job?
Yeah. Or
you could communicate to someone and it's multiple characters. So
that's actually a really nice idea.
Yeah, it's quite a fun thing. So that might work quite well. And obviously, again, the speaker allows you to plug in a little earpiece and have a proper headphone and mic. And we haven't even talked about the pad ergonomically, which is a wonderful word. Is improved, and it's been improved for shooting, for precision.
Yeah.
Developers Guerrilla, who make the Killzone games, have had a lot of input, and you can see the the way that the D-pad has changed. It's sort of more impacted in the middle. The analogs are deeper.
The analogs are a big change, aren't they? The surrounding kind of nub, is that what you might call it? I don't know. But that's a very shootery kind of thing, especially because it prevents your thumb from slipping off there. So for GTA, it may be really useful because the combat is such a profound part of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think the pad has got lots of different ways you can exploit it. The triggers are a lot better. There could be things like we talked about surveillance cams in the game previously, like all over the city. Now, what if there was some element where you had to move through a CCTV area unnoticed, and it was somehow tied into like the flashing on the light bar, or you had to somehow actually physically obscure the pad at certain times so you wouldn't be seen?
Yeah,
that probably won't happen, but it's quite fun.
And it also, I mean, the light bar might also come into things just, touching on what you just said, where it might be like a stealth section where the light bar sort of flashes faster as you get closer to being seen.
Yeah, that could work if it's clear. That's a good system.
Just hit the power button and the system enters a low power state with the play session preserved in RAM. The minutes that it takes today to boot a console and load a saved game will be a thing of the past. Okay,
so Dan, let's talk about cloud gaming and PS4 suspend mode and how that might impact upon GTA, future GTAs.
Yeah, well, the problem is currently, I mean, if I ever think about playing GTA 4 again, I instantly think, first thing, where's the disc? 2, how long will it take to load? Where was I? Will I have to install 3 patches? Will there be a firmware update? Will I have to wait a minute to sign in online? All those things are true. It's going to take me ages. Now, PS4 has recognised this in a sort of iPad-enabled world. And when you've got an iPad, you basically open the front of it and it's on.
Yeah.
And you're instantly on the net, or you're doing something like that. So what PS4 has recognised is it's got this suspend mode where you just press the power button, the machine sort of goes into a dormancy mode, press it again, you're right back on. So you could almost leave, if GTA 5 was running next gen, you could almost leave it like in the background running, press one button, sit still, you might be watching a bit of TV or literally using your iPad, and then you might go, ad break or something, I want to come back into GTA 5, you press one button, you're straight back in the game. And in terms of your wanting to play a game, I think that's a massive difference.
Yeah, it's massive. And also what I like about that specifically for GTA is it means you wouldn't have to, when you lose your rag with the, you only had to follow the train, CJ, like that mission, you'd be able to get halfway, okay, I've done it halfway, I'm going to suspend it now and I let my anger dissipate and then go back to the mission instead of having to restart that whole mission again.
Yeah, exactly. And also what they
not that I live in the past, obviously.
Well, there's a lot of rage in GTA games. We all know that missions are maddening, so you want to get straight back into the mad zone as quick as you can. Cloud gaming is going to be a big factor in the fullness of time on PlayStation 4, and again, this allows you to break down traditional barriers where we're waiting for things to load. Like PlayStation 4 will let you download demos and play them instantly by sort of downloading them in the background and giving you the game to play immediately via the cloud or something, So it's like, again, it's killing that convenience gap that you've had previously. Now, also what cloud gaming allows you to do is broadcast your game live. Like you can see here, a spectator mode. So you can press with one click, you can broadcast your game of GTA 5. And again, tying to what we said about there being potentially like kind of a YouTube ranking social mode, you can see it here. And if you've got your microphone plugged in, and if you look at what's big on YouTube, you could quite easily, if you were like one of the big names in GTA 5 play, go, I'll be live streaming me, almost like the great, Evel Knievel or something. Like, tune in tonight at 10 p.m. where I attempt to dirt bike over 17 torch-lit wagons or something, whilst dressed as a peanut or something. And that's really funny. And if you can commentate on it, again, it creates this sort of veneer of celebrity where you can, make funny jokes as you dressed as a peanut jump over these trucks.
And I mean, GTA perhaps more than any other game is really, really kind of so ripe for potential with this sort of new feature on PS4 is because there's so many different angles to the game. There's this kind of killing everyone, there's driving, there's exploration, there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's an open world ripe for experimentation. And if you can see here, we've got a bit of three-leaf clover, and this is like a bank heist. Now, bank heists are going to they're playing a big part in GTA 5. Now, what if you could play multiplayer GTA 5 and do an orchestrated bank heist, but you could broadcast your bank heist to other people so they can watch you, and what PS4 lets you do is comment as you're going, so you can sort of go, whoa, these guys are in trouble, or something probably far more offensive and upsetting. But you could do that live, and you could almost have live competitions of GTA 5 where you could have 4 teams go in competing to get the fastest heist, and it's broadcast live, and it's almost like competitive spectator sport.
Okay, Dan. So one of the most interesting aspects of the whole presentation, I thought, was the fact that your games can transfer to your Vita and you can continue playing them. How do you see that sort of fitting into the GTA world?
Yeah, I think this is convenience is the word we're hammering. It just makes a big difference. Like, say, again, I'm playing GTA 5 in the front room. One of my loved ones comes in and says, I want to watch something that I certainly don't want to watch. I can pick up the PS Vita, go upstairs, carry on seamlessly with my game of GTA 5, and it will look and play exactly the same with a virtually identical feature set.
Do you see this as a direct response to Wii U, I guess? Or is it something they've always had planned in, do you think?
No, I think it's two things. One is that they needed something to, Vita's, in so many words, on life support. And I'm not in any way dissing the hardware. I think it's a great piece of hardware. I just think because of the way the world's changed and the way the business models have changed and what people expect to pay for games, Vita was in danger of becoming a redundant device. But this is like, in a single stroke, is kind of like the adrenaline jolt, wedged into Vita's heart that's woken it up. And I think, as a companion device to PS4, it makes perfect sense. All you need is a strong local Wi-Fi connection, and you've got, what we're promised is essentially seamless play of your main PS4.
Yeah.
Now, again with GTA 5, that's fantastic. Just stop it off, go upstairs, you play it. Now, also what it allows you to do, like we can see here, is use Vita as a second screen. This, as any Wii U owner will tell you, is possibly another slight white elephant.
Yeah.
Because what it means is really, oh brilliant, we've put a map on a second screen.
Yeah.
Now, but again, on GTA 5, there's an argument that actually maybe that's pretty useful.
Yeah.
Because if you can glance at your map, and again, it's pinchable and zoomable, and if you can see like the two other characters, like Franklin or Michael, on the map at any one time, and let's say character switching them is as simple as, rather than pressing pause, you just go onto your map and click the dot that's Franklin, and it takes you straight in the main TV to that character.
I guess that would make actually a lot of sense if you put. I think you'd have to pause the game on the TV screen, and then your map on the Vita sort of comes into. What would be interesting is, I guess, is what I'm saying is that is you'd pause the game, and then the map would kind of come into life on the Vita, and you'd be able to really. It would feel really tactile and kind of just a really nice accompaniment to the actual action.
It would be cool, and there's loads of other things. We're obviously talking about Vita as the main bit of cross-platform play, but it's pretty clear that on PS4 we're going to see a lot of link up with smartphones, with tablets. So we're going to see a lot of things like, even when you're not actively playing your game, which would be GTA 5 in our case, you'll be able to go away and perhaps edit the way your character looks. You might be able to edit, and again, they've talked about gun customization. You could customize your guns. You could do things like, because the game carries on Max Payne's crew system, you could be maybe tweaking bits of your setup on smartphone beforehand.
Yeah.
You could be managing different bits of XP or fame or views, like we've talked about, that you've earned.
Yeah.
I think there's huge potential for it, and Sony is sort of hardwiring in all the stuff we'd expect from a modern games console, and it's really applicable for GTA because it's such an open, interesting world, and there's so much scope to buy things and to customize. It's like an experience you want to take everywhere with you and be part of living it.
And I presume you mean by taking away, you mean when the actual game's kind of switched off, you take your Vita, or literally take it away, on the train, and you're still tinkering with the world of GTA 5 on the move.
I mean, I was speaking to the makers of a game, I won't say which game because it probably breaks a massive embargo, but they see a big part of the future is you being able to take away an iPad or a tablet and do all your customization work in your own time, in bed, at work, or wherever you want to do it on the bus, and then as soon as you come back to your PS4, the game starts immediately. There's no faff, there's no setup. You've done all that, you've done your options, you've done your setup, you're straight in.
Yeah.
And it's convenience again, and I think that's exactly what the future's about. On one final point on multiple screens, what if you could use it to almost represent a second character's pair of eyes?
That's interesting.
You could have the same mission, you play as Franklin with, say, the sniper rifle, but at the same time you can see Michael running through a burning building, and you've got a mad framework of looking back and forth, going, oh, is he going to make it? As you pop in the sniper shots.
What a great idea. I wonder how difficult that would be to sort of for my tiny brain to cope with, but it's a great idea.
Yeah, probably rock solid, but bit of fun.
And finally today, Dan, let's talk about multiplayer, GTA 5's multiplayer. We've talked about it in previous weeks. How do you think the next generation technology may change, or perhaps not change, multiplayer gaming in the GTA series?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, Dan's just... wait a minute. Someone call a doctor.
I'm sorry,
He's back.
I'm not that excited about it that I can't
He's
speak.
back.
But I did have a moment of actual choking there. PS4 itself would obviously improve the online experience. Maybe I'm going to say something so accurate and good that Sony activated my neural inhibitor, affecting my vocal cords. That's not true. GTA 5 is going to have a great multiplayer mode, and Rockstar have already trumpeted how innovative and what a break it is for them already.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Now, what we could get is things like, if you're playing, let's say, tennis, which is going to be a side game. Now, if you play that, you can imagine playing that in competitive multiplayer. And now, again, there's an extra dimension to it because of what we talked about, the idea of sharing. So you could share great shots, you could share great moments, you could broadcast it. So you could almost broadcast live tennis tournaments from within GTA. And at the end, you see the guy drive off in a helicopter.
Yeah.
You know, like it's or a man cheating by calling in a rocket attack midway through a tennis match.
Right.
You know, there's all sorts of insane things that could happen. I think, I suspect, and again, this is me speculating, don't read anything too much into it. Rockstar have talked about the nature of the side missions in GTA 5. From looking at what they are, a lot of them would lend themselves to live multiplayer events, like we just talked about with tennis. You're also going to get, or maybe not so much this one, yoga.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd watch live yoga. That might be slightly rubbish. But you got jet skis. So you imagine you're playing like effectively what is single player GTA 5. Then you go into a side mission marker, and it says, without even noticing it, you go straight into a lobby to enter a competitive multiplayer jet ski race.
Yeah.
Now you compete against actual real human beings for like a 2-minute window. Then you pop back into your single player experience. So you're muddying the ground between like an always on game, a single player game, but you're connected and you're not really noticing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the future is. And like even today we've had the boss of Crytek coming out and saying that he thinks in the future they won't be single player games as we know them. They'll be called like connected solo experiences. Now, I think he's partly saying that to absolutely infuriate people and get headlines, because I definitely want to be able to turn the internet off. I do want to be not part of it at times. But I think that's here to stay. And I think, again, you could imagine a live dirt bike race where you pop out, you compete against real people, you see each other's XP. Maybe you could even bet and steal XP off each other. And again, that might not be XP, it might be vehicles. It might be again using like your social media cred, so you can film the race live and you re-edit it and you put it online. I mean, it's not so unusual for the internet. I mean, the internet is always on, so this, you know, let's get that out of the way. But it's not so unusual for you know, like a system, a piece of hardware to always be on. I mean, the iPad is effectively always on. Of course
in that, you know, it's always connected to your Wi-Fi connection. So why should a console be any different? And you go back through history, and there's, as we talked about last episode, there's very few interviews with Sam Houser, but there's one in the past where I believe he talked about what he saw as an online vision of GTA. Now, one of the games he cited as an example for the future of GTA was the kind of PC MMO model of like an always-on universe where you've got a persistent character. Now, whether it's going to get there with GTA 5 or not, I don't know, but I think that's what Rockstar are gunning for. They want you to be like a character who exists, not in a game that plays on a single console, but a character with attributes that build and build and build in a world, a persistent online world. Now, I think, obviously, PS4 is the ultimate environment to do that. It's quite possible on PS3 to a certain extent. I'm convinced that's the way they're going to go. And again, if you take all this stuff further, like we know that GTA 5 is going to have dynamic soundtracks on top of the licensed soundtrack, so the music will ramp up at key moments.
But what if instead of like giving you custom soundtracks, GTA 5 also lets you, because it's always online, stream in your personalised Spotify playlist.
Accounts, yeah.
That would be amazing, and like you've got like another layer of dynamic soundtrack. A game like SSX that came out on PS3, that remixed your songs according to the action. Now it was a little bit of a cheat. Now it would only really do whoop, 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 you know, whoop, 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 and all that sort of stuff. But it did do it. And like whether Rockstar could dynamically remix streamed music or music you stored on your hard drive, that's quite possible. That's really exciting. Whether you can share playlists with people via the cloud, that's really exciting. As we touched on earlier, the game's all about heists. I'm convinced the co-op mode will be, or at least part of the co-op mode will be, orchestrated co-op heists. So you'll get 4 of your buddies, you'll each play a character, or 3 of your buddies and play a character, and you'll compete to get the best time, and along lots of other variables, like you might be number of shots fired, people killed, explosions, blah blah blah. You'll compete to do the best heist, and there'll be global leaderboards, I think, for co-op heist work, and there'll be the global leaderboards for all sorts of things, on top of what could be the overall global leaderboard for who basically is a badass and an internet celebrity, who's broadcasting the stuff and who's got the most respect. Also, the game's got like a big economy and it's got money tied into it, so as well as earning you potentially XP, you're earning cash all the time. Cash buys clothes, buys cars, buys new stuff, you share it, you broadcast it. It's like life. Yeah. It's quite exciting. I'm excited myself.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I can't see them going fully into that area on the current hardware, I also can't see them fully instigating this kind of sweeping changes in the next generation version of GTA 5 either, because that would just require too much work. But maybe in some sort of GTA 5.5, GTA 6, we could see like a fully MMO.
Yeah, maybe I've reached too far into the future, but I do definitely think Rockstar are keeping multiplayer quiet for a reason, and I think they've got really ambitious plans for it. I think we're going to see that on current gen systems with PS3 and 360. We're definitely going to see ambitious plans. Obviously that will expand as we go towards next gen. Now I almost think you've got to look further than, as I say, the multiplayer experience existing in a box and almost existing in an external universe, almost like the cloud, and you're just an active participant in it. Now, and I wouldn't even rule out in that respect the idea of cross-platform play, where you've got like your character who's got a certain level of respect and XP and stats can be compared directly to what a 360 player's got.
Yeah.
Because you're not directly linking platform to platform, you're linking up on a universe level.
Yeah.
So hey, we'll see. I'll get to be proved wrong or right as time goes on, but it's an exciting time.
Okay, so we hope you enjoyed our look at how GTA, the GTA 5 and GTA 5 series will change based on what we now know about PlayStation 4. I guess we'll see what Microsoft come up with in a couple of months, and whether that affects the GTA series or may affect it in another way entirely. I imagine Xbox won't be too dissimilar to the kind of ideas that PlayStation 3's pushing at the moment. Dan, your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I'm not going to totally wobble on about what I think the next Xbox will provide, but broadly the feature set will be similar to PlayStation 4. They're all part of the same world, they all think the same way, the specs will be broadly similar. Microsoft will probably lean a little bit more to like a sort of entertainment, integrating TV services, that kind of thing, a bit more showmansy, maybe a bit less of a techie hardcore gamer's box, but it's negligible. The games are going to look the same and play great. We'll see when Microsoft announce.
So do put your comments in the comments box below. Let us know what you think. Ask us any questions you like. We'll try and answer them on the next GTA 5 o'clock. Dan, we've got a Twitter feed. Do you want to let the listeners out there know what it is?
Yeah, if you want to stay in touch with us, ask us any questions, find out about show updates, we'll be sharing links and news from the GTA 5 world and the Rockstar world probably. You need to follow at GTA VOclock. Now that will be appearing probably on screen as I speak, and definitely in our description below. Follow that, you'll get all of the updates you need. The community's been great so far, super friendly, really nice. I look forward to you all joining it and flaming it up with swears. That would be really sad. But yeah, let's try and make a great community. We really appreciate all the viewer feedback and everything everyone said. So yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, and just to underline what Dan says, that Twitter feed will include not just we've got a new shout this week, but any GTA 5 news, anything we've dug up, anything that pops up in the between episodes, we'll tweet. So it's definitely worth following.
Yeah, just last night we had footage of a guy who works with us, who works for PlayStation Access, who went around real world LA on a bike.
Right. Yeah.
A madman,
Yeah.
but I respect him. Went around LA, trying to find real life GTA locations. So again, you can find the link for that on our Twitter feed. You've probably seen it on the web, but that's a great video. We'll be sharing that kind of stuff. And hey, it's a way to get in touch with us.
So thanks for listening. Again, like I say, subscribe, pop your comments down below. We'll try to answer as many as possible, and we'll see you next time.